Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the PictureMonk Photography Podcast. My name is Jordan Yantz from PictureMonk.com, and here we are doing a special sort of, episode of the PictureMonk Podcast. I'm actually doing it live on the Periscope app. I think I talked about the Periscope app in the last episode, I think it was. And so I'm actually doing what I said I was going to do. I was going to record it live. So let's go ahead and get into a couple little topics that I found, and then we'll get into the main topic of today. And then also stay tuned for a huge, major announcement, people. You're going to want to sit down to hear this if you're standing up, and if you're sitting down, you're going to want to lay down because it's so great. So here we go. So let's see. The first thing that I found is actually a GoPro video of the International Space Station. And it was, I think it was from astronaut Terry Virts, something like that. He did a spacewalk on February 25th, and he put I think he had a GoPro Hero 4 Black Edition or Silver, one of those, and he basically just recorded a hour-and-a-half long video that is just basically pointing at the Earth, and you can see him working and messing around with the tools and stuff like that. And it's just a really, really cool video. It's about an hour and a half long, or probably a little less than that, but it's worth a watch if you just have the time to let something run in the background. And so it's just a really cool video. And there's actually one part where it's kind of like you can see all the different kinds of weather, I guess, because like there's really clear skies over parts. There's actually one where Italy comes up, and you can clearly see like the boot of Italy, and so it's pretty cool to watch that. And then you see like real big clouds and real streaky clouds and stuff like that. I'm not a meteorologist, so I don't have a clue what all that means, but it's a really cool video. So if you got the time, check it out, and I'll put a link to the video as always in the show notes. And the show notes can be found at PictureMonk.com/PMP023. So go check that out. And so the next little piece of news, let me pull up my notes here, is actually one that I'm not too excited about, but I thought I might as well go ahead and talk about it, is the Apple Photos software was released, and I'm just not a big fan of that. I didn't really like iMovie to begin with anyway. I basically just used iMovie to store my photos. But for the Photos app, they're trying to, from what it seems to me, they're trying to gear it more towards novice photographers, and put really, really basic editing options. Even the like the spot removal. It's not as good as obviously Photoshop or Lightroom would be, but they're just trying to make it easier for them to use and dumb it down. So if you have a Mac, go check that out. It'll probably automatically replace your iPhoto, which it did mine. I had my iPhoto icon down there in the dock, and now it's the Photos icon. So, but one thing that you might want to check out is when you first upload or open the program, it'll search for your iPhoto library, and it'll automatically import it, or it should automatically import it, but it actually didn't for me. And I found out the reason why it didn't do that is because I didn't have my iPhoto library in the default location that Apple usually puts it in, which is the pictures and then iPhoto folder. But I moved mine to an external hard drive so I'd have more space on my regular computer. So what I had to do is search around the internet for somebody who knew what was going on, and I found one guy that was given like a real long explanation. It was just too much to read, but it ended up being that you have to take the iPhoto library icon, the actual whole library. It actually kind of looks like a little iPhoto similar icon, and you just drag it on top of the iPhoto or the Apple Photos. There's too many Apple Photos stuff going on. Drag it on top of the Apple Photos icon on your dock, and it'll automatically start importing that, and it'll remember that location. So if you have that and you had that problem, that's the easiest way to fix it. But like I said, I'm not really too happy about the program. I'll probably just store my photos like I usually do, just like family photos and stuff like that. But all my major photography stuff goes into Lightroom or just a regular folder on my desktop. So the next little bit of news, real quick, I'm not going to touch too much on it because I kind of missed the boat last week. I think I was a day late on this, but Snapseed 2.0 was released. If you don't have Snapseed for your phone, how dare you? Because it's a great piece of software. I'm not being sponsored by it, so I'm not getting paid for it. So it's just a really good program. It makes everything really easy to edit. You can actually do really cool features like let's see, what was the one that I was actually surprised about? I think they actually have a selective color feature, I think they had it in the software before, but they enhanced it to make it actually does a way better job this time. They got a little bit of spot removal, that kind of thing. So it's a really good program. I'll put a link if you want to go to the PictureMonk site and download it that way. You can, but just go to iTunes and search for Snapseed, and it's should be the first one on there, and it's a free app. So I think I actually paid for it when it first came out, before Google bought it. So I paid $4.99, I believe. And so I'm glad it's free now. But that's about it for the news for today. So let's go ahead and get into the main topic, and those are questions. And a couple people decided to write a very long question, and I'm still going to read it, but you know what? If you're going to write a question to me, go ahead and send a really long question. I don't care. I'll read it. So let's see. The first question is this question is from Jackie Rossler. It says, I'm checking my Periscope app actually just to make sure everything was good. Yep, good. All right, Jackie, your question is, my computer has a 600 gigabyte hard drive, and I just noticed that over half of the space is taken up by my photography. Do you have any ways to save space? Well, that's a good question. I would say, first of all, do a house cleaning. Delete most of your stuff that you don't need. So, like mine, I have a folder that I put all my raw files in, no matter where, what they are. And I keep them housed there until I can go through them and delete, the blurry ones or, the real bad ones and stuff like that. So that's a simple way to do it, is just do a basic house cleaning. Another way to do that is to make sure you don't have any like weird raw files everywhere. So, if a raw file is 22 or 25 or 40 something megabytes large. So if you want to make sure that you're not housing a bunch of stuff that you don't need. And if you have a Mac, I forgot to mention that part, you can actually download a piece of software called Disk Inventory X. And Disk Inventory X is actually a program that will, it'll scan your hard drive, and it will, it actually works on external hard drives too. It'll scan your hard drive, and it'll show you by like a graph, like a blocky graph, what kind of stuff you have on your machine and how much space it takes up. I use that all the time just because I think one time my computer, I woke up one morning and my computer had no space left whatsoever. And it was weird because I have a 600 gig hard drive like you do, and I had no space left. And the night before I had plenty of space. And it turns out there was a problem with my email. It kept sending this file over and over and over, and it ended up filling up my hard drive overnight. So I wanted to know what was filling it up, and that's where I found that program. And so it really helped out. And another one I actually talked about with my dad today, because we were talking about Lightroom and stuff. And I told him about the snapshots feature in Lightroom. So if you use Lightroom, and like me, I like to do a bunch of different edits to my folder, my photos. So what I'll do is I'll create a copy of my. I used to create a copy of a image and then reset all the settings and do another edit. But I found that I start using snapshots more often, and what snapshots are basically are just it's kind of like a preset just for that image. So you can make an edit to an image, save the snapshot, reset it, do another edit, and then save the snapshot again. And then you can do as many of those as you want to, and you basically create a recipe for each one of those settings just for that image. So it's kind of a cool thing. I've been using that a lot lately, and it definitely saves a lot of space because you don't have to create a copy. So I hope that answers your question, Jackie. And so the next question is, hey Monk. I actually kind of like that, hey Monk. I haven't read these before, so I don't know. I've just scanned them to see how long they were. But hey Monk, I have been taking photos for over 5 years and have never been able to get any photos purchased or sold. Because of this, I have been taking out my camera less and less, and I'm starting to get frustrated and ready to give up shooting altogether. Whoa, that's kind of harsh. That escalated quickly. Do you have ways to stay motivated? Who do you look up to as photographers? And that is from Ben Forstall, something like that. If you guys just want to put like your initial or something, or just give me like a way to say your name, because I really do suck at names. But anyway, Ben, to answer your question, I'm actually releasing a video this coming up Monday. So by the time this podcast is released, there'll be the video on my YouTube channel. It's a video that it's 3 separate things that inspire me. So there's I think there's a photographer on there. I recorded it a couple weeks ago, but there's a couple photographers on there and a YouTube channel and stuff like that that gives me inspiration to keep on shooting. Another thing is actually this podcast, because I get to think about a photography project or a topic or something, and I get to talk about it. So that keeps me motivated to keep doing photography in general. There's also the usual, just do random Google searches for cool photography and read magazines, that sort of thing. And another thing, I actually made a lot of notes on this one. Another thing is actually a section on Apple's website. It's if you go to apple.com, I think that's what it is, apple.com, and you go on the front page, I think that's where it's housed. There's a section that says shot with the iPhone, or shot with iPhone, or something like that. You click on that section and it will take you to photos that were shot and I assume edited or something like that on the iPhone. And so you can check those out and see what was done just by a cell phone. I know it's kind of like a marketing thing for Apple, but it's really cool inspiration, and I didn't know that was on there until today. And another thing is you can if you want to listen to one of my older podcasts, if you go to episode 6, so that's PictureMonk.com/PMP006, you can actually listen to that podcast, and it talks about doing photography projects for yourself to help you stay motivated. So you can listen to that there as well. So Ben, I hope that answers your question. That's a lot of stuff to kind of go through, but don't give up. I mean, if you're just looking to get into photography to sell and stuff like that, it's not, you're not going to be doing it for a while. So just kind of enjoy the trip, enjoy the journey. So I hope that answers your question, Ben. All right, so the next one, and I'm already 13 minutes into it. I probably need to hurry up because I don't want to make these too long. So let's see. The next one is I'm about to upgrade my Canon 7D to a 5D Mark III. Nice. Since I want to get a full frame feature, do you know of a way to check if my current lenses will fit my full frame camera? Every place I look so far gives a long drawn out explanation, and I just want the facts. That's from Fernando Lopez. Let's see. What I found, because I upgraded my Canon T2i a year ago or so. I upgraded that to my Canon 6D, and so that's a crop sensor to a full frame. And so I was having the same kind of issue. I wanted to know what lenses would fit my full frame, so I knew what to buy. Well, it turns out Amazon is a really great resource for that. If you go to Amazon and you type in your current lens, just exactly what it is. So if it's it can even be a kit lens. So like 18 to 55 f 3.2 or something. I don't know. Type that in and find that exact model. And then below that, there's going to be like a compatibility thing. And you put in your camera information, and it says yes or no whether it's compatible with your camera. So that's a really, really cool free tool that you can use for your camera to see if your lenses will fit. I actually use that for the 2 new lenses that I bought for my camera, and it works just fine. So I know which one's to sell and which one's to keep. So I hope that answers your question. That's because it's a really good tool, and it's free, and it's just go there now and check it out. So thank you, Fernando, for your question. All right. And question number 4 is, hey, with exclamation mark. I noticed that you were from Greensboro. I live in Burlington. Cool. And just wanted to know if you had some cool places to photograph in this area. Thanks for the show. I listen every week. That's from Jessica N. And so, Jessica, Burlington is actually, 30 minutes or so away from me? 20 minutes, 40 minutes, something like that. It's not too far out that way. I'm not too familiar with Burlington because I usually just pass through there going to like Mebane or something like that. But what me and my dad do usually is we just hop in the car and drive, grab some back roads, do a bunch of searching that way. And that's about it. I mean, we just kind of do that. Obviously, we'll do research and try to find some places that are popular and everything. But we just do a bunch of research. And I actually think we were out near Elon one time, and we found like a cool burned down or broken down building or something like that. It all depends on actually what you shoot. So it's, I could be saying landscape stuff when you're a portrait photographer. I don't know. But it's, we were driving out there and we found this burned down place, and I really wanted to go in there, but I think it was on somebody's land. So I didn't want to, we didn't want to mess with that. So we kind of stayed away from that. But, I don't really have a specific place. Raleigh's really close to you. So if you want to head out that way and check out some cool downtown scenes and stuff like that, that's a good way to do it. But yeah, just grab some back roads, just pack your gear one time and go driving. That's what I would say. Also, if you have a meetup group, like a photography meetup group in your area, you can always ask them as well and kind of go in there weekly and check that out. So, sorry I couldn't give you a better idea, Jessica, but hope that helps. The next question is, hi PictureMonk, do you use any filters on your camera? Also, do you have a preference on square or round filters? Hope my question makes the podcast. Will A. That's from Will A. Will A. Your question did make the podcast. I do use filters. The only kind that I use currently are circular polarizer filters and ND filters. I think that's about it. I don't use any UV filters because I don't. From what I've experienced is you have to buy a really, really expensive UV filter to get the get the greatest quality, and really a lot of people just use the UV filter to protect the front of the lens. So if they drop it or something, the filter will break and not the lens. But I don't put anything on my camera for full time. But I do use circular polarizer filters, so I prefer round filters. And the reason I prefer round filters is just because when you have a square filter, you have to have the adapter on the front, and that just takes more time to screw in, and then have the square filter, slide that in, make sure that's there. And I just don't prefer that. So if I'm going to use a filter, I'll just screw it onto the end of the lens and just be done with it. So hope that answers your question, Will A. And then we'll move on to question 6. And this has to do with Lightroom, it looks like. Why do my photos look good on the back of my camera? I know where this is going. But when I pull them into Lightroom, they look very bad and boring. I'm not... Oh, there it is. Okay. I'm new to Lightroom. I just can't read. I'm new to Lightroom and just got a Nikon D5500. Wow, nice. So am I doing something wrong? From Andrea. No, you're not doing anything wrong. Most likely you're not doing anything wrong. What I would say to do is, if you got a D5500, you're probably shooting in RAW. I hope you are shooting in RAW. And that's most likely why your photos might be looking bad in Lightroom. When you take a photo and you shoot RAW, or when you take a photo in general, when you take a photo, you're seeing a JPEG preview on the back of your camera. when, like you snap a photo, picture pops up on the back of the camera. That's a JPEG preview, no matter if you shoot RAW or JPEG. You're seeing a preview. So you're seeing the styles, attached to that photo. So like when you go to photo styles, so you got like the landscape style, the portrait style, the faithful, the whatever. You got all that stuff. You're seeing that effect on your photo. But when you pull them into Lightroom and you're shooting RAW, you're seeing the RAW photo. So you're just seeing the photo by itself. No effects, no nothing. And that's why they look bland and boring. But you want that because you want to be able to add your own style to it and your own, sort of feel and mood and stuff like that. You want to be able to do your own edits, not have the camera do the edits for you. And a good way to test that out is actually to set your camera style on black and white or monochrome. And what that will do is when you take a picture and on the back of the camera, it'll pop up and it'll be black and white. But when you pull it into Lightroom, you're going to get a color image. It's the same kind of thing. You kind of see the effect that it has. But yeah, that's what's happening for you most likely. You didn't say you were shooting RAW, so I'm just assuming. If you are not shooting RAW and you're shooting JPEG and they still look bad, it could be maybe the size of JPEG that you're shooting. So if you're shooting like a large or medium or something like that, could be that, or it could be the picture style that you have applied. So I'm just most likely you're shooting RAW and that's what's happening, which you want to do that, but that's probably what's happening. So thank you, Andrea, for your question. And the last question here for today is, hello, this is kind of a long one. Hello, PictureMonk. I just bought a 55 to 250 f4 lens since I want to shoot portraits, and I was told this was the lens to get. I started taking photos with it, and I'm not happy with the background. The subject is great, but the background isn't blurry enough, and that's usually what I see on portrait photography, a blurry background. Makes sense. I realized I should have bought another lens with an aperture of f2.8 or something along those lines. I just bought this lens and don't want to buy another one. Do you have a way to make this work? Thanks. Love the podcast. From Todd Diaz. Yes, you don't have to get rid of that lens if you don't want to. It's just going to take a little bit more work on your end. Ideally, yeah, you would probably want to get an f2.8 or something like that, something along those lines. But you don't necessarily have to. So since you have a very long lens, so you have a 250 millimeter lens, what you need to do is basically just step away from your subject, get really far away from your subject, and then zoom all the way into 250. And what that'll do is it'll compress the background, and it will, due to hyperfocal distance or whatever, all that mumbo jumbo, you're actually going to blur out the background more because you're zoomed in. And so even if I'm assuming since it's an f4 is at the small end, so f4 is at 55, but when you go to 250, it's probably going to be a 5.6. When you go to 5.6, which will automatically change when you zoom in, you're actually going to, it's going to be a very high aperture for what you want. So that's why you want to zoom all the way into 250. So you don't have to get rid of your lens. You just got to walk away from your subject and get farther away. Like I said, might be a little bit more work because you might be cramped for space and that sort of thing, but you can make it work. Another way to do it is to do it in post. So in like Photoshop or Lightroom, grab a brush and soften the background a bit. That's the only kind of ways I can think about doing it. But to do it in camera, that your best bet is to just back away from your subject. So yeah, you don't have to get rid of your lens. Maybe if you want to later on, save up to get a 2.8 because I know they're pretty expensive. Like the 70 to 200 is pretty darn expensive. Even if you get like a Sigma lens, it's going to be really, really expensive. So thanks, Todd, for the question, and I'm glad you don't have to buy another lens. All right, so that brings us to the end of the show, and here is the huge, huge announcement. I will actually be releasing 2 podcasts per week. And I know, calm down. I know you're so excited. The second podcast I'm going to be releasing is on Thursday, and it's called, I'm not actually releasing a separate podcast. I'm releasing another podcast on this channel, which is kind of counterintuitive to what a lot of people do. But it's I'm basically just going to be doing a what I call In a Snap, and that's just it's a small podcast probably around 4 to 5 minutes, so it's really, really quick. And I'm just going to hit on one subject really hard and just talk about that. No news, no nothing, no, probably no chatting, no nothing like that. And so, I'm starting those off, and that'll probably be next week. So when this podcast is released on Tuesday, you're going to hear another one on Thursday. So all you got to do is just stay subscribed to this channel, and you're going to get the podcast. And so, like I said, it's called In a Snap, and it's going to be released every Thursday. So you get 2 podcasts per week, Tuesday and Thursday. So I know you're really excited. Stop cheering. It's fine. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. As always, head on over to PictureMonk.com for all things photography, and head on over to PictureMonk.com/PMP023 for everything talked about in this episode. And please head on over to iTunes and rate the show. I very much appreciate it. It makes me keep wanting to do this and keep giving you guys more help, and it keeps me motivated too, because I even get in a rut sometimes and just kind of want to get my thoughts out on the podcast, and it kind of inspires me again. So stay tuned to the channel. You get 2 episodes per week. And I almost forgot to say again, I'm actually still recording this on the Periscope app. So download the Periscope app, and next time I record a podcast, I'll go live, and you guys can check on that and kind of see it live before it hits iTunes. So thanks again, appreciate it, and I will talk to you guys in the next podcast.